Shannon. Welcome to Lexi's Lounge. What are you drinking today?
I am drinking coffee with oat milk.
Ooh, that sounds
Here.
good. Do you put anything in it? Like, is it just coffee and oat milk, or do you put any kind of like syrup or flavor in it?
No syrup, no sweetener.
I think oat milk's the best alternative milk.
Yeah, it is. It's so creamy, especially if you get like the full fat, which has like DHA in it, and you can kind of like tell yourself it's healthy for you.
Yeah. What does DHA do?
Oh, it's just like an omega-3. It's just kind of good for like brain development and overall body health.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I'm super excited to have you on the podcast. Shannon was supposed to come on last month, but I last minute rescheduled her while I was traveling. So I apologize publicly to you for this. But Shannon, for the people who have not heard of you before, this is their first time meeting you. Can you give us your little backstory?
Sure. I'm Shannon. I'm the founder and CEO of Factory45, which is the online business school that takes sustainable fashion brands from idea to launch. I got my start in 2010 when I was starting my own sustainable fashion brand, and it became the highest funded fashion project in Kickstarter history at the time. It was featured in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal. It was this big whirlwind, amazing, but it brought me to what I do today, which is help other entrepreneurs start their fashion brands in a way that is sustainably and ethically made.
So when you say sustainable, what is a sustainable fashion brand?
Yeah, so I always say there's no such thing as perfectly sustainable. Anytime you are making something new, it's going to have an environmental impact. So it's really about thinking, how can you reduce that environmental impact? How can you improve the supply chain, the sustainability of your garment or collection or product, whatever it is, without sacrificing the product itself? Because you can make the most sustainable product in the whole world, and if nobody will wear it or nobody will use it and it sits in their closet, then it's not really sustainable.
That is so true. So true. So when I was thinking sustainable, I didn't know if it was like for the environment or if it was for ourselves.
Or like the sustainability of the business, right? Because that's
Oh.
another thing. Like, it's if the business can't support itself, if it doesn't make money, then it's not a business, it's a hobby. So that wouldn't be sustainable either. So I guess double meanings. But in the sense of the fashion industry, sustainability and ethics are unfortunately not a given in the fashion industry. There are huge pollution, human rights issues, the list goes on. And so incorporating environmental friendliness into the supply chain is what we focus on at Factory45.
Okay, so not to dive in super deep quickly, but also to dive in super deep quickly. So I posted on TikTok the other day that I did a whole, like, I bought $200 worth of clothes on Shein because I was like, oh, someone told me about it. I'd never heard of it. I'm like, how is this stuff so cheap? Okay, fine, I'll try it. If this shirt comes and I hate it, it was $2, whatever. So I got the stuff. And I was like, oh, this actually isn't horrible. But people on my TikTok were like, no, that is a horrible brand to shop from. Do you have any insight, expertise, maybe explanation as to why people should not shop fast fashion, and what is fast fashion?
Yeah. So fast fashion is a business model that encourages you to feel out of trend after 1 week. So now in the fashion cycle, there are 52 trends per year. There are new trends coming out every week to make you feel out of fashion.
That's exhausting.
Yes, it is. It's exhausting for you, the consumer. It's exhausting for the planet. It's exhausting for the people who make our clothing. So I don't want to be the bearer of bad news or too harsh, but Shein is one of the worst culprits. There's huge human rights issues happening. You can just like Google Shein human rights or factory workers, and articles will come up. But when we talk about the environmental side, the majority of clothing is made from polyester or synthetics. Those are fabrics that are made out of oil and take up to 200 years to decompose in a landfill. So you basically are churning out, right, 52 trends a year, all of this clothing that is then going to sit and not even be trash. It's just going to sit in a landfill and take 200 years to break down. And then kind of on top of that, when you think about wage workers or the wages that workers make and what a living wage is, in most cases, workers' rights or factory conditions, all of these. There are 27 million slaves in the garment industry across the world. So it just problems.
Wow. I didn't know that. Like I've always been someone who's like, oh, I don't buy expensive. Like, you know, when people have like a $40 just plain white t-shirt, I'm like, I don't get it. Or a shirt that has like holes in it. I'm like, I just don't understand. But as I'm starting to mature a little bit and make a little bit more money, I'm like, oh, I want to splurge on the nicer clothes. So I bought like my most expensive thing I bought is my pair of Doc Marten boots, but I'm like, these are gonna last for forever. So is that another thing with fast fashion versus like sustainable fashion, is that the quality is a lot better and more sustainable in the long run?
Yeah. And that's what I say to people, if you can't afford to have an entirely sustainable wardrobe, right? Because it is more expensive, start to think about where you can maybe buy less, but buy better. And again, you are literally fighting consumerism, because again, going back to fast fashion, you're made to feel out of trend after a week. So I get where there is this mentality to just keep buying more to keep up. But if you can start to do exactly what you said, buy products or clothing that's going to last you for a long time, then you're starting to sort of be a part of the solution rather than feeding into the problem.
Gotcha. Okay, that's good to know. So one thing you mentioned about fabrics was which ones break down. Is there a particular type of fabric that is better to shop than not?
Yeah, you want to look for natural fibers or natural fabrics. So that's going to be fabrics like organic cotton, linen, hemp. There's a fabric called tencel or modal, which is like a plant-based fabric. So any natural fabrics are going to be better for the planet in the long run than the synthetics like nylon, spandex, polyester, lycra, all those.
Yeah, everything that they have in all of your cheapo stores.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay. So in the beginning, when you were talking about your background, you were talking about how you had a very successful fashion brand that was featured in the New York Times and just scaled like crazy. What do you contribute that success to the fashion brand to?
Building an audience before we launched. So anyone who is interested in starting a business, I don't care if it's a fashion business, I don't care if it's a coaching business, an online course business, whatever it is, build an audience before you launch, because I think that is the number one thing. There are so many free resources today that will allow you to build a platform. For example, Lexi having a podcast that will build your audience. And then once you have that audience, you can sell them whatever it is that you are trying to make a career or a business out of.
Is there
And obviously that's a very simplified version.
yeah. Is there any so when you're creating that audience before you launch, before you actually have like the physical tangible thing, I know for some reason, for some people, they get their head wrapped around that, like, well, I don't have a physical product, so like, how can I talk about that? So when you're creating this community before you launch, is there any like, do you like give them like samples of clothes, like what you're going to be posting? Like, do you crowdsource, like, do you guys want to see this piece, that piece, or this piece? Like, what does that look like in a tangible example?
Yeah, it can look like all of those things. My recommendation in what I teach in Factory 45 is sort of, you have to obviously identify who your target customer is. And once you have an idea of that person, you're creating content that provides value, entertainment, or inspiration for them. And so that can look like an email list and sending them emails once a week that, again, provide value or inspiration or entertainment. That can look like Instagram posts, behind the scenes photos of fabric swatches you're getting, or buttons that you're sourcing, or sketches of designs. It can look like what you said, crowdsourcing, doing Instagram stories polls, or whatever it is, wherever your target customer is hanging out online. You know, if you have an older demographic, maybe they're on Facebook and in Facebook groups. So figuring out where they are and then basically driving them back to your email list where they can opt in to hear more from you.
Oh, that makes so much sense. And I feel like that's very transferable no matter what industry you're in, if you're about
Yes.
to launch something. My next question for you. What are the challenges and the lessons that got you where you are today?
I think I am definitely a recovering perfectionist. So that has been something that I really have had to sort of fight within myself, is knowing that done is better than perfect. And so when there's the inclination, and again, this can be no matter who you are, what you do, when you have that inclination to go back and tweak, or, oh, just like change that color, or, oh, that font's not right, or the copy isn't perfect, or the design doesn't look exactly, okay, well, is it 90% there? Because usually 90% is close enough to getting you to shipping it, which is right. So we say like ship it, get it out there, get it in front of a target customer, because they are going to have input. They're going to have feedback. If you do a good job of building that audience of ideal target customers, then once you put this idea in front of them, they're going to have suggestions to make it better. They're going to have things that they want to see, that they would prefer to see. And so I think that's where it makes sense to not have a perfect version of what you want to create, so that you're open to feedback.
That is so good. And I feel like that's also very transferable too with anything that we do or launch or create. Like, I can remember so many times with myself being like, oh, I have to have this perfect outline before I even talk about this idea that I have.
Mm-hmm.
And really that just left me in analysis paralysis. But now I feel like I'm on the other end where I'm like, I'm just going to talk about it right now. Like, oh, I just had this idea 5 seconds ago and now I'm going to talk about it. And who knows if it's going to come true or not. But
yeah, well, it's just like a muscle to exercise, right? It's like something to practice, a muscle to exercise so that you can get better and more comfortable. I think so much of it is just like your own comfort level and building that confidence within yourself that, like, okay, you put an idea out there, it flops, but like it doesn't define you. It doesn't, keep you under your covers and unable to get out of bed in the morning. It's like, okay, that flopped. That's good feedback. That's good, something good to work off of. And now we move on to the next thing.
yeah, that's super powerful. What would you say to somebody who has always been interested in starting their own fashion brand or fashion line, but they don't know where to start?
Well, you can join Factory45. We'll help you start. No, I think that starting with a one-page business plan, that's what I teach all of my entrepreneurs very early on. Is you don't need a 40-page business plan. That is a thing of the past, unless you're, going and trying to seek out venture capital and pitch investors. Really, all you need, we have a free template we can link to in the show notes, actually, if you want to give that away. But it's a one-page business plan template. It really like boils it down to the main things that you want to be thinking about, so that anytime you're making a decision later on, you can go back and like think about where you started, the vision, the why, again, your target customer, loose financial projections. But I think also that people often make the mistake of almost being like too married to an idea that they can't see a better idea along the way. So it's really important to remember that your one-page business plan should always be evolving. It should always be changing. Like, think of it as being written in pencil, right? You can always erase and change and edit. And that's what a good business plan is. It's always evolving.
That makes so much sense. And I would love to link that below, because I think that would be super helpful for people, even if they don't want to particularly go into fashion, but they want to like get an idea of how to write a business plan. And I think that's super, super cool that you have that resource available. And that it is written in pencil, because I think a lot of people get hung up when they're starting a business and it's something new. People get hung up on the like, oh, well, I have to have it perfect, or I have to have it this way, or because I wrote it this way and showed this person, well, now I can't change anything. And I think that can be so limiting for entrepreneurs. And I know how hard it is in the beginning when you really don't know what you're doing and you're trying to figure it out. And I think it's just amazing to lean into that, like trial and error, and shift things along the way.
Yeah. And I think that goes back into kind of the other very overarching piece of advice that I often give is start before you're ready. Going back to the perfectionism, going back to, thinking that something needs to be written in stone. Start before you're ready, because everything takes longer than you think it's going to. Especially, let's say if you're starting a fashion brand, you're waiting on fabric suppliers and pattern makers and sample makers, all these other people, where if you just start, again, there are so many other things you can be doing behind the scenes, building an audience, nurturing that audience, marketing, whatever it is, that as you're waiting on other people, you can be doing. You'll wish that you had started yesterday.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so tying into this next question, what's the number one hang up that people get caught up on when they're starting a fashion brand?
They think that they need like a 12-piece collection. Going back to sort of outdated business models, that is an outdated flaw now of the fashion industry. It used to be that you launched a 12-piece collection because it was going to be on the floor of Nordstrom, right? And you wanted the pants to match the bag, which matched the blazer, which matched the scarf. And it all looked like this seamless collection together on a physical store. Now, I launched successfully with one signature piece. I have seen brands launch with one piece. I have seen brands launch with 5 pieces, 3 pieces. I really, really recommend paring down to no more than 5 pieces before you launch. It's going to save you time. It's going to save you money, because it's so expensive for product development to do multiple pieces. And it's going to ensure that there's no decision paralysis from your customer side when they see a 12-piece collection, but they can only afford to get 1 piece. Which one do they choose? It's just all around works a lot better for everyone.
Gotcha. So when you're talking about creating your own fashion brand, it's like creating, I know I'm wearing a plain old sweatshirt right now, but like if I were to have a really nice blouse with buttons and it looks really cool, like that's what you create. You don't do like drop shipped sweatshirts.
Correct. We do, like, you design your own garments, and then we help our entrepreneurs find a factory, pattern maker, sample maker to turn that design into a garment.
Wow. So it's like 100% custom. Like you go into Factory45 with like this idea and this vision of, okay, this is what I want my fashion brand to look like, and you help make it a reality.
That's exactly right.
That's so rewarding.
It is. It's really cool. I've been doing it since 2014. So by now I've seen a lot of brands launch and all different types of products. So it's been really, really rewarding. Very, very cool. I love my job.
Is there one particular brand that you've helped launch that you just have a soft spot for that was like, wow, that was amazing?
Oh, I have a soft spot for a lot of them, especially for like different reasons. I think maybe the one that like I'm really, really proud of has been in business since I think she came through Factory45 in 2015, and it's called Vetta, Vetta. And she's probably like created the most well-known, gotten the most publicity, been in business the longest. She has an office in LA now, and their garments are just beautiful. I love wearing everything she creates. So anyone who's listening can check out, especially if you're interested in like maybe buying your first sustainable fashion piece for your wardrobe. That is, those garments will last you forever. They're
Really?
timeless. Yeah, timeless and so well made.
Okay. I have another question, and this is like kind of off topic, but not. When it comes to cleaning or washing your clothes, Is there an importance in separating your blacks, your whites, your delicates, and all of your other things when it comes to like keeping your clothes nice?
So it depends. Like if it's a silk blouse, then yes, you don't want to just like throw it in with everything. If it's a brand new red garment, you probably don't want to wash it with your whites on hot because it's going to turn them pink, like things like that. But you've heard it here first. I wash all of my clothes all together.
Oh, okay, good. I'm like, I literally have never been one of those people who's like, I'm going to separate my blacks and my whites or whatever. I'm like,
well, part of the reason is like for me, the water usage. So I cannot do that many loads of laundry. The amount of water that is used. Also, I have 2 kids, so I'm already doing laundry all the time. But I will say anyone who like wants to have a more environmentally friendly laundering system, line dry your clothing or like lay flat for drying, because the dryer is the thing. Other than the water usage, the dryer uses a lot of energy.
Isn't the dryer the place where most clothes get ruined when they do? Like it's not,
Yeah.
you know, when you put something in and then it goes through the whole cycle and you take it out and you're like, this shrunk or it's broken now or it's like chipping on here. That's from
There's so many reasons. Yeah, so many reasons not to use the dryer. Like even just like, again, your clothing's going to last longer if you just lay flat to dry.
I'm gonna have to like just throw my dryer away. Well, I'll use it for my kids' clothes, but for mine, I'm starting to realize like now that I'm starting to buy nicer pieces that are more stable pieces, I have to learn how to wash my clothes better because I've ruined so many pieces over the years by just throwing it in or letting my husband do it or whatever. And now I'm like, no, I gotta actually like not dry certain things because I know like there was this one shirt my mom got me when I was younger from this boutique and I loved it and I wore it for my birthday and it was so cute and it went through the dryer and it broke the strap. And I was so sad and I'm like, I don't want that feeling to ever happen again. Like I want to throw a shirt away or like donate it because I want to, not because my dryer told me I had
to. Right. Well, just not to like harp on this too much, but also detergent matters. So just keeping in mind, like Tide, like do not buy Tide. Like you want fragrance free. They're all different types of detergents. The one I love is called Drops, and it's just these little. There's no like synthetics or anything. It's super clean because not to get off on a totally different tangent, but like laundry detergent like is actually very chemical heavy, and so you're putting that on your skin, your kids' skin, so you want to be really careful about the detergent you use too.
That's been a huge topic for me too with like my whole acne journey that I've been on with detergents. Like it's literally everything that we put. And I mean, I stopped using dryer sheets years ago because of just how
they're horrible.
Yeah, they're not good for you. I can't give you a list of why, but you should look into it.
And they're not good for the planet either. So
yeah, use those little, what are they, like little wood balls?
Either wool balls. Yeah, we use those.
Yeah, you just reuse them every time, right?
Yep.
And they do the same thing. They take all the static out.
Yep. Yeah. I have a old podcast. I don't run it anymore, but it's called the Clean Living Podcast. And there's a laundry episode. So we can link to that too. We can go through the whole dryer sheet thing.
We're going to link to that. So we're going to put the 1-page business template below and also the laundry podcast.
The laundry episode, of the Clean Living Podcast.
Perfect. Well, this has been like, I feel like we just dove so deep so quick. And I feel like there was so much good information here. Where can people find you and how can they work with you?
Yeah, so you can find me at factory45.co. That is where you can also sign up to our email list or look into the Factory 45 program. You'll find out on there how to reach out to us. It's very clear, but my email is Shannon at factory45.co. If you are clearly a podcast listener, we also have a podcast called Start Your Sustainable Fashion Brand. And I'm on YouTube, Instagram at factory45co.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Shannon, for coming on. This was so good. And there was so much good information in here, you guys. make sure to leave some love below. Go follow Shannon on all of her socials, especially if you want to start a fashion brand, because she is your girl. Like, she's proven in this podcast that she knows what she's talking about. She didn't even skip a beat when I asked any questions. So thank you, Shannon,
Thank you.
so much for coming on. This was amazing.
Thank you for having me, Lexi.